All right, let's talk a little bit about the stimulus this morning and the latest on why American Airlines could be the linchpin here. American Airlines, major news overnight about what American Airlines plans to do could have direct implications on whether or not we see an additional stimulus package. Yes, I know it sounds weird. How do these two work in tandem? It doesn't really make sense. You're sticking things all over the place. But according to the New York Times this morning, it makes perfect sense because you have a number of members of Congress. See, I'm still sick, not feeling well. A few members of Congress saying that this would be a death knell to our economy if American Airlines furloughs 19,000 workers. That's the news this morning, that it's going to cut 19,000 workers on October 1st. So that means they're basically giving Congress right now a layup. They're saying, look, please, we need more stimulus. We're out of the stimulus money that we had. We need more. We need more right now. They're going to cut flight attendants, pilots, technicians, gate agents, and other staff. And look, a lot of members of Congress fly on American to go back to their home constituents. They've got their regular round trips, you know. You've got that flight from D.C. to New York all the time, back and forth, back and forth. It's going to hit them right where it hurts. But what American is saying is, we're giving you a month to get your act together. You've got a month, October 1st, to get a stimulus package passed. Otherwise, we may have to furlough all of these workers, which would be crippling to the economy. American is just the latest airline to have to go through this bad news. Earlier this summer, United said that it could furlough as many as 36,000 employees in the fall. So you'd have 19,000 at United. You'd have 36,000 at 36,000 at United, 19 at American Airlines. Think about that, folks. Over 50,000 employees furloughed. And you know what's been happening with these furloughs, right? They've been turning into permanent job loss. They're not getting called back. Imagine pilots, technicians, gate agents, flight attendants, all of them out. While weak demand is spurring these announcements, the airlines are also seeking to put pressure right now on Congress. And this is where the two come together. And the Trump administration. They're calling on Congress and the Trump administration to strike a deal on another coronavirus package to get them out of the red. They received $25 billion in that first stimulus package under the PPP program. American alone got $5 billion, but they've already blown through it. They've already spent it to just keep their employees on and to not have to lay them off. They've had routes shut down. People aren't flying as much. No wonder. Evidence is mounting that the once strong economic recovery in all of this is starting to lose steam. We saw those jobs numbers last week. Hiring slowed in July, and various indicators suggest it slumped further in August. And we won't know fully for another few weeks, but hopefully Congress isn't going to wait around for that. They're going to actually get some movement on this. The Paycheck Protection Program provided grants and low-interest loans to small businesses. That ended this month. And the $1,200 tax rebates that appeared on your in bank accounts have not been repeated. And the unemployment benefits are drying up. And eviction moratoriums are ending. And people are being thrown out of their houses. You want me to go on the list? Further down the list? On and on it goes. And we're stalled. We're stalled. First of all, Congress is out. They're on vacation. The HEROES Act sits on the desk of the Senate, where Mitch McConnell hasn't touched it. Instead, we've been hearing rumors of this skinny bill that got leaked from Republican aides, where it would have been a much smaller bill, under about $1 trillion, maybe even as small as $500 billion, way, way down. It would not include stimulus checks. It would not include unemployment benefits. It would be half of what we know for the unemployment benefits, $300 instead of $600. It would not have included any kind of student loan forgiveness or student loan deferment. It would have basically been a nice big wet kiss to liability protection for businesses, and not much else. Very little for state and local governments, and that's about it. Democrats, for their part, have said, look, we're going to try to pass some other additional bills, some smaller versions, maybe the post office thing at $25 billion. Can we push that through so that the post office has full capacity for voting in the fall? Republicans say that this is all talking points, that the post office is fine, doesn't have any problems. We don't need this money. They're sitting on a surplus right now. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Here's what Kevin McCarthy had to say about this and where stimulus discussions are right now. He sat down with CNBC and had this to say. Let's listen to Kevin McCarthy.
For an emergency meeting on Saturday, and that was about the post office. The desire that the post office needed more money, but the post office has $14 billion on hand. It has another $10 billion line of credit through the CARES Act that we already voted on. So as Republicans, we offered another amendment. We offered dealing with PPP for small businesses, offered dealing more money for COVID research and others. That was shot down. So it's concerning to me that we're getting so close to the election. I'm not in the majority. I can't control what comes to the floor. That almost this is becoming a political element instead of a policy one that it needs to be.
And then just to get from point A to point B, there's Congress can vote some help for people that need it. How does it get exactly to where the weakest parts are right now in terms of small business or people that food insecurity, whatever it is, it really needs to be addressed. How do you do that? And can't the two parties appeal to each other just to focus on that and get rid of the other? And don't bring up cannabis. You always bring up cannabis. Methinks you protest too much, McCarthy, at times. I'm not sure what the hell you're talking about.
I'll leave cannabis. I'll leave cannabis out of it. I know that's an element that the Democrats crave a great deal. And the speaker somehow thinks that's very helpful to COVID. I haven't seen any studies of that. No, but really needs to focus on unemployment insurance. Fortunately, the president took some action there, but unfortunately, the speaker wants to stay at that $15 an hour extra from the federal government per week, even though Steny Hoyer says, no, we could come off that. I think PPP, you already have $100 billion still sitting there, but we have a lot of small businesses that are still being affected and need help. We could utilize that money and maybe some even more. You have schools that are using a great deal amount of resources to make sure the schools are prepared for students to come in. We had more than $100 billion for that. We're arguing about how much. We were $5 billion away. I don't know why that couldn't be done. These are key elements. Resources to the states, there are more than $100 billion that's already sitting there that we could provide greater flexibility. There's $1 trillion that's already appropriated that hasn't been outlaid yet that you could utilize too. It seems as though Pelosi, the speaker, is wanting to have $1 trillion more, and she makes you want to spend it instead of saying, I already have it here, can I just add that on to it? And that seems to be a real sticking point.
So there you go. That's Kevin McCarthy, Republican, saying, look, all this money is already sitting there. We've already got this money sitting there. And, we just want to be able to allocate it better. To which I say, well, first of all, why is it just sitting there? Who's in charge of doling it out? Everyone I'm looking at in my chat right now is not happy that the money is just sitting there right now. So everyone I'm looking at right now, I'm looking at Tanya, I'm looking at May, I'm looking at Mario. I mean, look, all of you right now sitting there watching this show, you're like, that's great that you allocated $1 trillion. Why don't I have it in my hands? Why am I losing my job? Why can't I pay my rent? We don't care about where. If you set up the framework, so basically you're blaming yourselves then, Kevin, because back when you set around the CARES Act, you made it difficult for states to get access to this money. You basically put in all these provisions to make it difficult for these states to get access to this money. That's not our fault. That's your fault. So fix it. Do it. Fix it. Get it done. But instead want to point fingers, and Democrats want to point fingers at Republicans, and Republicans want to point fingers at Democrats, back and forth. But America, people are hurting right now. So when I hear Kevin McCarthy, spin some yarns about all of this money that's just sitting there, no one's touching it, I just feel like,
come on, man.
Exactly, Joe. Come on, man, get this stuff spent. Get it out there to the American people right now. if we can get, and if this American Airlines thing can bring people to the table, and if we are seeing significant evidence right now in the economy that it's starting to stall out again. But then I hear from some of our listeners that watch our show regularly, like John Shanks, who says, look, I'm seeing way more, we're a lot busier at work lately, and that's a good sign. And I hope that that's the case. I know that a lot of businesses are hiring like crazy. They can't find workers. That's great. But there's a lot of people out of work. And we are, still sitting at a 2008 recession level high of unemployment and an eviction moratorium. I think that's the biggest story here, is this eviction moratorium and the fact that people are going to become homeless like we've never seen before in this country because government didn't step in to do something about it. And, I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's fine for all of that, all of those Trump supporter base that live in their nice suburban homes, and they'll be fine. And they don't care about the inner city person who is going to be thrown out of their house. But that's what we're facing right now. The person who is renting, who can't afford to rent anymore, and who can't afford to pay that rent, and they've already had an eviction on record, but the state won't allow them to get the eviction for another, 2 weeks or so, and then they're going to be kicked out in just a few weeks. The condescension that comes from people like that want to somehow, as if they've ever walked a day in the shoes of someone who's been at the poverty level, had no money, wasn't sure how they were going to eat, grew up with not having a lot. They pretend that they get to pretend that they know all of the travails of the world from their nice suburban life right now. So that's why you're seeing the RNC go right after those people, talk directly to those people, make sure that base is strong at the Republican National Convention. But we know better. We see the middle class being destroyed. We see the Federal Reserve, stepping in and making sure that the wealthy people are taken care of, making sure that all of Wall Street is taken care of and businesses are secure. Wall Street's riding high. It's amazing to me that people at the RNC could get up there and talk about how Wall Street's doing so great. I mean, who are they talking to? The average person right now in our chat room, right now watching, do you give a rat's behind how well Wall Street is doing? Do you care about these big public companies that have no connection to the real world? That's why this American Airlines story is so big, folks. I think that this American Airlines story, the reason it's so big is because it has direct implications on all of us, and it has direct implications on employment. And so when you see American Airlines and this major travel infrastructure piece of the American economy, United, American, Delta, etc., all having to say that they're going to have 36,000 layoffs, 19,000 layoffs, this is a moment, folks. And I think the New York Times might be onto something here. I don't agree with them very much about a lot. I'm not a big fan. But I do agree that they might be onto something here, that this could really force Congress's hand. Because they're laying it out there saying by October 1st, unless we don't get another stimulus plan in place, another PPP program to keep us afloat, we're done. We're going to have to lay off 19,000 people. But the reason American is different than Wall Street is because it's tied to the American infrastructure. It's like, it's like electricity, right? It's like water. It's like utility. Our airlines are like utilities. If you were to find out that the internet would be gone tomorrow because we didn't have enough stimulus and now you're not going to have internet access anymore, well, first of all, this show wouldn't exist, right? But that's a utility. And our airlines are basically like utilities, just like our roads, just like our rail system. And so if American Airlines goes under because we don't have a stimulus plan and 19,000 people are laid off, that's not connected to Wall Street. It's a different baby. It's a different animal. And yes, you can buy American Airlines stock, but this is a different animal altogether. So I think that this could be the shot across Congress's bow that we actually need to get some sort of stimulus passed. That's my thought. Oh, look who is back. Who just got back from the pet sitter. Hi, buddy. 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 Somebody's happy to see me. I am so happy to see him. Grover's back. There's no way I could possibly set up a Grover cam right now because there's no camera fast enough to catch him right now. He's like a little ball of electricity. How was he? Super excited? Yeah? So thank you guys so much for joining us. Don't forget, please subscribe to our Morning Invest newsletter. Morninginvest.com is how you can do that, by going to morninginvest.com. It's totally free newsletter to sign up. We deliver it to your inbox first thing every morning so you can get some news over your cup of coffee. So please join our community. We have some great content that you can read it in about 5 minutes, I think, right? 5-6 minutes. Actually, time yourself. Tomorrow morning, time yourself reading the newsletter and then let me know in the chat how long it takes you to read the newsletter, okay? Do that. Let me know. I'd be curious to see your reading rate, okay? I'm going to quiz you tomorrow on the show. Let me know. Again, morninginvest.com. It's delivered to your inbox. We try to send it out about 7 a.m. Eastern time if I'm not sick. And we try to get it out as quickly as possible to all of you first thing in the morning. We put in our work. We wake up early and we do it for you.